are wasting your time. You are wasting your energy, and you are probably damaging your accent permanently. If you are sitting at home, repeating audio tracks like a parrot, thinking that you are doing shadowing, I have bad news for you. You are doing it wrong. In fact, 90% of English learners are actually getting worse, not better, by using this popular method incorrectly. Today, we are going to tell you exactly why you fail to understand native speakers, and we are going to fix it.
It is a tragedy, Daisy, truly a tragedy. I have walked into lecture halls at the university in New York for 30 years, and I see the same thing. Intelligent, brilliant students who have studied for 10 years. They know the grammar, they know the vocabulary, but when they open their mouths to speak, they sound like robots. They sound mechanical. And when I speak to them at a normal native speed, they look at me with panic in their eyes. They cannot hear the music of the language because they have been training their ears to hear distinct, separate, robotic words. Today, we stop the lies. Today, we teach you how to actually sound native.
That is a heavy introduction, Peter, but it is necessary. Welcome, everyone. I'm Daisy, and with me is Professor Peter Hanson. Peter, you used a very strong word just now. You said students sound mechanical. This is painful for our listeners to hear because they work so hard. They try to shadow, they repeat after the audio. Why is this making them sound mechanical? What is the missing ingredient?
The missing ingredient, Daisy, is the soul. It is the emotion. But before we get to the soul, we must look at the mechanics. Most students treat shadowing as a dictation exercise. They hear a sentence, for example, I am going to the store. They wait, then they say, I am going to the store. That is not shadowing. That is repeating. That is mimicking a machine. Shadowing, true shadowing, is about the delay. It is about the rhythm. It is about the stress. If you are not copying the music of the sentence, you are just making noise. You are just moving your lips.
I want to slow this down immediately because this is the core of the problem. You distinguished between repeating and shadowing. This is a nuance that confuses many people. Let's break this down. Repeating is listening, pausing, and speaking. Shadowing is speaking while listening. Is that correct, Peter?
Precisely, but it goes deeper. Let me tell you a story. This goes back to, I think it was 1998. I was teaching a specialized course on advanced phonetics in Manhattan. I had a student named Roberto. Roberto was an accountant from Italy, a brilliant man with numbers. He treated English like mathematics. He thought that if he memorized every phonetic symbol in the dictionary, he would speak perfectly. He spent 2 hours every morning listening to BBC News and repeating every sentence.
That sounds like dedication. Most teachers would praise that.
You would think so. But one day, Roberto came to my office hours. It was raining heavily that day. I remember the sound of the rain hitting the old glass windows of the faculty building. He sat down, soaking wet, and he looked defeated. He said, "Professor, I went to a networking event last night. I tried to tell a joke. I tried to tell a story about my work. And people, they just stared at me. They smiled politely, but they moved away. I speak perfect English. Why do they not want to talk to me?"
Oh, that is heartbreaking. I think every learner listening to this has felt that specific kind of rejection, the polite smile that says, I don't understand you, and it is too much work to listen to you.
Exactly. The polite smile of rejection. It stings. So I asked Roberto to speak to me. I said, "Roberto, tell me what you did this morning." And he sat up straight, took a deep breath, and said, "I woke up at 7 a.m. Then I ate toast. Do you hear that, Daisy?
It's staccato. It's choppy. Every word has equal weight.
Yes, equal weight. He was prioritizing the clarity of the words over the connection of the thoughts. He was shadowing, yes, but he was shadowing the dictionary, not the human. He was missing the schwa. He was missing the reductions. He was missing the flow. In American English especially, we do not speak in words. We speak in sound units. We speak in breath groups.
Breath groups. That's a fascinating term. I want to stick a pin in that for a moment. Listeners, imagine a piece of music. If you play every note on the piano with the exact same loudness and the exact same length, it doesn't sound like a melody. It sounds like an alarm clock. Peter is saying that Roberto sounded like an alarm clock. So, Peter, how do we move from being an alarm clock to playing jazz?
You must stop trusting your eyes. Your eyes are liars. When you read a sentence, you see spaces between words. What are you doing? 4 words, 4 spaces. Your brain wants to pronounce 4 distinct sounds, but your ears? If you close your eyes and listen to me, a native New Yorker, say that phrase, what do you hear? What are you doing?
What are you doing? It becomes one long word.
This brings us to the first major conflict between how we are taught and how we actually speak, the conflict between the written word and the spoken sound. Peter, let's do a drill right now. I want you to play the role of the student. I want you to give me a phrase that looks simple on paper but is completely transformed in spoken American English. Excellent. Let's take a classic, a phrase you use every time you go to a restaurant or a shop. The phrase is, I am going to get a cup of coffee. Written down, it's elegant, grammatical. I am going to get a cup of coffee. Now, Daisy, I want you to read that as a British teacher first, clear and enunciated.
Okay, I am going to get a cup of coffee.
Beautiful, crisp, lovely. If you speak like that in a bodega in Brooklyn, the guy behind the counter will think you're the Queen of England. He might even charge you double. Now, listen to the American reality. Listen to the shadowing target. I'ma get a cup of coffee.
Whoa, slow down. That was fast. I'ma get a cup of coffee.
Let's break it down. This is step-by-step breakdown number 1. I'm going to becomes I'ma. I-M-M-A. I'ma.
I'ma.
Good. Next, get a. The T in get is trapped between vowels. In American English, we turn that T into a soft D, a flap D. So it is not get a, it's getta.
Getta.
Cup of. The F in of is usually weak. Sometimes we drop it entirely. It becomes cuppa.
Cuppa.
Now put it together. The rhythm is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'ma get a cup of coffee.
I'ma get a cup of coffee. I feel like I'm wearing a baseball cap and chewing gum. It changes my personality.
And that, Daisy, is the secret. It changes your personality. You cannot speak native English if you're holding on to your identity as a foreign learner. You have to be an actor. When you shadow, you're not just copying sounds, you're copying a character. When Roberto, my student, finally understood this, it changed everything. I told him, Roberto, stop being an Italian accountant. Be a tired New York construction worker.
This is a massive psychological point, the identity shift. I see this in London, too. I have students from Japan, very polite, very quiet. English requires them to be louder, more direct, sometimes even aggressive with their intonation. They feel rude. They feel like they are being impolite. How do you coach a student through that fear, the fear of sounding silly?
That's the biggest barrier. It is not intelligence, it's the ego. We're afraid that if we make these strange noises, if we say getta instead of get a, we sound uneducated, or we sound like we are mocking the native speaker. I tell my students, you are not mocking me, you are honoring me. You are trying to meet me on my level.
I love that. You are honoring me. That's a beautiful perspective. It reframes the awkwardness into respect.
Precisely. Now, Daisy, I want to challenge you. You are a proper Londoner. You have that standard RP accent, received pronunciation, the BBC English. But our listeners are exposed to both British and American media. Shadowing creates a problem here. If they shadow an American movie one day and a British podcast the next, they get confused. We need to debate this. We need to show the difference in shadowing technique between our two dialects.
Challenge accepted, Professor. This is the dialect debate. Let's look at the letter T. This is usually the biggest battleground. You already mentioned the flap T, where water becomes water.
In the UK, we do something quite different. We either hit the T hard, water, or, in modern London speech, we use the glottal stop, war.
The glottal stop. That sound, it always sounds like you are swallowing the word to me. Explain how a student should shadow that. If they are watching a show like Top Boy or Sherlock, they hear it. How do they physically make that sound?
It is tricky. A glottal stop is the sound you make when you are lifting something heavy, that little grunt in your throat, Everyone says, That stop in the middle, that is the glottal. So when I say butter in a casual London accent, I'm saying burr. I'm closing my vocal cords tight, burr. Try it, Peter.
Burr. Burr. It feels like I'm choking.
It takes practice, but here's the nuance for shadowing. If a student listens to you, Peter, and hears budder, and then listens to me and hears burr, and they try to mix them, they sound strange. They sound like they're having an identity crisis. The rule for shadowing is pick a lane.
Pick a lane. I agree 100%. Choose one target model. Stick with it for at least 6 months. If you want to sound like Daisy, listen to Daisy. Shadow Daisy. Do not shadow Daisy on Monday and Peter on Tuesday. You will develop a Franken accent, a monster accent.
A Franken accent. That's a great image. Listeners, do not be a Frankenstein. Consistency is key. Now, I want to return to something you mentioned earlier, Peter. You spoke about emotion. You said the missing ingredient is the soul. This is the part of shadowing that 99% of apps and textbooks ignore. They focus on pronunciation, but they ignore intonation and attitude. Can you give us an example of how attitude changes the meaning of a phrase?
Absolutely. This is the acting class portion of our lesson. Let's take the word really. Just one word. R-E-A-L-L-Y. Daisy, I'm going to give you a scenario. I want you to say really based on the emotion I describe.
I'm ready.
Scenario 1. You're a teacher. A student tells you he forgot his homework because his dog ate it. You do not believe him. You're skeptical. Go.
Really?
Good. The pitch went down. It was flat. It communicated, I know you're lying. Scenario 2. You just won the lottery. You are in absolute shock and joy. Go.
Really?
Yes. The pitch started high and went even higher. It was breathless. Scenario 3. You're listening to a boring story from a friend and you're just trying to be polite, but you want to go home. Go.
Really? Really?
Perfect. 3 different meanings, 3 different melodies, but the word was the same. Now, here's where students fail. They shadow the word really, but they use the tone of the dictionary. They say it flat. If you use the lottery tone when you should use the skeptical tone, you create confusion. When you shadow, you must mimic the emotion first. The sound comes second.
This is why I always tell my students, do not just listen to the audio, watch the face. If you're shadowing a movie, look at the eyebrows, look at the mouth shape. Are they smiling? Are they frowning? The body language dictates the sound. If you shadow with a blank face, you will produce a blank sound.
There's a biological reason for that, Daisy. It's called mirror neurons. When we observe someone's facial expression, our brain fires the same neurons as if we were making that expression ourselves. If you physically smile while you shadow a happy sentence, the sound comes out brighter. If you slope your shoulders and frown while shadowing a sad sentence, the resonance in your chest changes. You cannot sound like an angry New Yorker if you're sitting upright with a polite smile on your face. You have to use your body.
I want to introduce a drill here for our listeners to practice this body shadowing. We're going to take a sentence that's full of frustration, a very common feeling. The sentence is, "I can't believe this is happening again."
Oh, that's a good one. Very common in New York traffic.
Okay, first, Peter, I want you to say it as a robot. No emotion, just the words.
I can't believe this is happening again.
Okay, listeners, did you hear that? It was clear, but it was dead. Now, Peter, I want you to say it as that frustrated New Yorker. The subway is delayed. It's hot. You're late for a meeting. Give us the full drama.
I can't believe this is happening again.
Wow, the difference is night and day. Let's analyze what changed. The word can't became much longer. Can't. The pitch on again went down at the end, showing resignation.
And I also stressed this. I can't believe this is happening again. By stressing this, I'm pointing out the specific situation. If I stressed believe, it would change the meaning slightly. Shadowing is about catching those stress points. If you miss the stress, you miss the point.
So, the actionable advice here for our listeners is when you're shadowing, don't just repeat the words. Ask yourself, how is the speaker feeling? Where is the stress? Mimic the anger. Mimic the joy. Even if you feel ridiculous in your bedroom, scream if you have to.
Maybe warn your neighbors first, but yes, scream, whisper, cry. Use the full range of the human instrument.
I want to pivot now to a very technical aspect of shadowing that trips people up. We talked about linking earlier, gedder for getter, but there's something even harder, assimilation. This is when sounds change to become more like the sounds next to them. Peter, can you explain assimilation to us with a common example?
Certainly. Assimilation is laziness, efficient laziness. The mouth wants to take the shortest path between two sounds. Let's look at the phrase did you, D-I-D-Y-O-U. If I speak distinct words, did, you, my tongue has to move from the alveolar ridge for the D to the palate for the Y. It's a jump. The mouth doesn't like jumps, so we merge them. D plus Y becomes a J sound. Didja.
Didja, like did you go?
Exactly. Did you see it? Did you know? If a student tries to shadow did you see it by saying did you see it, they will always be behind the native speaker. The native speaker is already on to the next sentence while the student is still finishing the word you. This is why you feel the native speaker is talking too fast. They're not talking fast, they're talking efficiently. You're taking the long road, they're taking the shortcut.
That's a brilliant metaphor, the shortcut. So shadowing is essentially learning the map of these shortcuts.
Yes, and you can't learn these shortcuts from a textbook. You can read about them, but until your muscle memory learns to slide from D to Y to make J, you won't own it. This brings me to the concept of micro-shadowing.
Micro-shadowing. I love this term. Tell us more. How is this different from normal shadowing?
Normal shadowing usually involves long passages, a whole paragraph, a whole dialogue. That's good for flow, but micro-shadowing is for the problem areas. It's taking a 2-second clip, just one transition, like didja, and repeating it 50 times. Loop it. Didja, 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 didja. Do it while you wash the dishes. Do it while you walk the dog. You're drilling the muscle transition. It's like a pianist practicing just one difficult measure of music over and over until the fingers move without thinking.
I advise my students to use software for this. Use a podcast app where you can hit the back 5 seconds button. Find a difficult connection. Maybe it's what are you to watcher. Hit play, watcher, rewind, watcher, rewind, watcher. Do it until your tongue feels tired.
If your mouth isn't tired, you're not training. It's a gym workout. If you go to the gym and lift a feather, you don't get muscles. If you shadow and it feels easy, you're not changing your accent. You have to feel the physical resistance of the new positions.
Let's talk about the plateau. Many of our listeners have been studying for years. They reached an intermediate level and they stopped improving. They shadow, but they stay the same. Why does this happen?
It happens because they stop listening actively. They enter autopilot. They hear the general idea and they repeat the general idea, but they stop hearing the nuances. They stop hearing that I aspirated the P in pot, but not in spot. They stop hearing the slight elongation of a vowel. To break the plateau, you must go back to being a beginner in your mind. You must listen with extreme curiosity.
Extreme curiosity. That sounds intense.
It is. I had a student, let's call her Sarah. She was stuck at an intermediate level for 5 years. She was very frustrated. I told her, Sarah, for the next week, I want you to shadow only one thing, intonation. I told her to ignore the vowels and consonants. Just hum the melody of the native speaker.
Humming. I use this technique too.
It is powerful. If the speaker says, I don't think that's a good idea, Sarah would not say the words. She would say, She stripped away the lyrics to focus on the music. After 1 week of humming, she realized her pitch was completely flat. She was speaking English like a robot because she wasn't hearing the melody. Once she fixed the melody, the pronunciation followed.
That is a fantastic drill. Listeners, try that today. Take a sentence. Do not say the words. Just hum the pitch. Up, down, flat, high, low. It forces your brain to process the prosody, the rhythm and stress, without getting distracted by the vocabulary.
Daisy, we need to address a controversial topic, the native speaker ideal. Many students are obsessed with sounding exactly like a native. They want to eliminate their accent 100%. Is this a healthy goal for shadowing?
This is a deep question, Peter. My honest answer, no. It is not healthy, and it is usually not necessary. The goal of shadowing is clarity and connection. It is not to erase your history. If you have a slight French hint to your English or a Japanese rhythm, that is charming. That is you. The problem is when the accent creates a barrier to understanding. When sheet sounds like shit, or when beach sounds like bitch, that is a problem.
Yes, those are very specific and dangerous problems.
Exactly. Shadowing should be used to fix the errors that cause confusion and to master the rhythm so you are pleasant to listen to. But you do not need to sound like you were born in Ohio if you were born in Osaka.
I agree. I tell my students, keep your flavor, but cook the dish correctly. Shadowing helps you cook the dish correctly. It helps you get the ingredients in the right order. But the spice is your own background. Don't lose that.
Keep your flavor, but cook the dish correctly. That is going on a t-shirt, Peter. I love that.
I expect royalties if you sell them, Daisy.
Let's get back to the practical application. We have discussed micro-shadowing, humming, and body shadowing. But how does a student structure a study session? If they have 20 minutes a day, what should they do?
Great question. Structure is everything. Here's the 20-minute protocol I give my university students. Minute 0 to 5, deep listening. Put on headphones, close your eyes, listen to the audio clip, maybe 30 seconds long, on repeat. Do not speak, just listen. Visualize the words, visualize the mouth movements. Minute 5 to 10, the mumble. Play the audio, speak along with it, but very quietly, a mumble. Focus on the rhythm. Tap your foot to the beat. You are syncing your body to the speaker. Minute 10 to 15, full shadowing. Speak at normal volume. Try to match the speed exactly. If you stumble, do not stop. Keep going. Catch up. This trains your brain to process rapidly. Minute 15 to 20, record and compare. This is the step everyone skips. Record yourself saying the clip, then play the native clip, then play your clip. Listen for the differences. Be your own teacher.
That last step, record and compare, is painful. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice.
It is painful. It is excruciating. But it is the only way to know the truth. The microphone does not lie. You might think you said bird, but the recording shows you said bored. You need that feedback loop.
And I would add one thing to that protocol, Peter, the blind shadow. After you have practiced, try shadowing without reading the transcript. Rely only on your ears. Many students read along while they shadow. This is a crutch. It connects the sound to the eye, not the ear. You need to break that link.
Yes, reading while shadowing is effectively just reading aloud. It engages a different part of the brain. You want the auditory cortex to drive the motor cortex, bypass the visual cortex.
I want to ask you about speed. Many students complain that native speakers are just too fast. I can't shadow that. He speaks like a machine gun. What is the solution? Should they slow down the audio?
In the beginning, yes, use the technology. YouTube has 0.75 speed. Podcast apps have 0.8 speed. Slow it down to learn the mechanics. It's like playing the guitar. You don't play a fast solo at full speed on day one. You play it slowly. You get the fingers right. Then you speed up. But, and this is a big but, do not stay at slow speed forever.
Why not?
Because slow speech distorts the sounds. When you slow a recording, the pitch changes slightly, and the weak forms, the schwas, become too clear. In real speed, tu becomes t. At slow speed, you might hear tu. If you learn tu, you'll be confused when you hear t in real life. Use slow speed to map the sentence, but you must graduate to full speed to capture the true phonetic reality.
That is a critical distinction. Slow speed for mapping, full speed for training.
Correct. Now, Daisy, I want to talk about materials. What should people shadow? I see students shadowing the news, CNN, BBC. Is that good?
It depends on their goal. If they want to be a news anchor, yes, but for daily conversation, no. News anchors speak in a very specific, artificial cadence. Good evening, tonight in the news. Nobody talks like that at a dinner party. If you shadow the news, you will sound like a broadcast.
Pass the salt, please, and later tonight, the weather.
Exactly, it's weird. I recommend shadowing interviews, talk shows, podcasts like this one, or unscripted reality TV.
You want natural, spontaneous speech. You want the ums, the ahs, the interruptions. That's real English.
I'm a big fan of movie scenes, but not action movies, relationship dramas. Scenes where two people are sitting in a kitchen talking about their feelings. That's the goldmine for shadowing. The language is intimate, the vocabulary is high frequency, and the emotion is clear.
And stick to one character. Don't shadow the whole cast. If you're a man, pick the male lead. If you're a woman, pick the female lead. Or mix it up if you want, but finding a voice model is helpful. Someone whose voice you actually like.
Yes, find a voice doppelganger. If you have a deep voice, don't shadow a squeaky teenager. Find an actor with a deep voice. It will be physically easier for you to match the resonance.
We have covered so much ground, Peter. We have discussed the mechanics, the psychology, the drills, the materials, but I feel like there's one final piece of advice needed: the long game. Shadowing is exhausting. It takes mental focus. How does a student keep going for months or years without burning out?
They must treat it like hygiene, not like a project. You don't brush your teeth for a project. You brush your teeth because it's what you do every day to stay healthy. Shadowing is dental hygiene for your accent. Do it for 10 minutes, but do it every single day. The consistency compounds.
And celebrate the small wins. You won't wake up one day and suddenly sound native. It's a gradient. One day you'll say a phrase and it will slide out of your mouth perfectly. You won't even think about it. And the person you're talking to will just nod and answer you without that polite smile we talked about earlier.
That's the moment of invisibility. When your accent is no longer the topic of the conversation, when the idea is the only thing that matters. That's the victory.
The moment of invisibility. That's a beautiful goal.
Before we finish, Daisy, let's do one final rapid-fire round of British versus American shadowing targets, just to show the listeners the music one last time. I'll say the American version. You say the British version.
Ready.
I can't wait to see her.
I can't wait to see her.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Mobile phone.
Mobile phone.
Schedule.
Schedule.
You see? Same words, different music, different soul. Pick your instrument, listeners, and play it with confidence.
This has been an incredible session, Peter. Thank you for sharing your 30 years of wisdom with us.
It was my pleasure, Daisy. To everyone listening, stop repeating, start shadowing, start acting, and most importantly, stop being afraid of your own voice.
Well said. Thank you, Professor Hanson. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Slow English channel. Practice that drill. I'ma get a cup of coffee. See how it feels.
And don't forget the water.
And the butter. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.